high performing private schools, and those could pop up because they have the available funds. But you could also see you could see private school costs balloon a little bit. It seems to me you could see the costs go up because the funds are available. And so private schools already, have to be careful with their budgeting. They have less funding for teachers' salaries, less funding for administrators. So do you think it's going to alleviate some of that pressure and let the private school cost kind of grow a little bit in those communities? Or do you see a mechanism for diverting the benefit to families that are in lower tiers of income thresholds?
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting piece to watch. What I would say would be the schools that are unaffordable now are going to probably still be unaffordable tomorrow, right? So if you're $35,000 a year for high school tuition, an $8,000 school choice scholarship or educational freedom scholarship is not going to make that difference. And so I don't think that in that case it's going to make that big a difference. So I think then you have to look at what are the next tiers down. It's market driven. Right. So that's the beautiful thing. In a rural setting, if you are the only non-public school, you have to, one, be high quality, right? Because literally my competition's free. That's the only competition I have. So the restaurant analogy, there's two of us. One is charging and one is free. I've got to be that much better that the family's going to drive by the free place and pull in my parking lot. Right. So that's one. The second part to that is economics, right? Like you have to look at what is the median income in your area and how do you make your non-public school budget work to be able to have the numbers that you need to have to be sustainable, but also to be able to provide a high quality opportunity. And so that's the battle that we live every day. And so we want to be affordable to families. We want to be accessible to families. You want to provide a high quality opportunity. School choice dollars for us would allow us to be more accessible to maybe families that wouldn't qualify for financial aid. So I can't outprice myself there because the school choice dollars won't make that big of an impact. And so I think that you'll see that. And then I also think that, there is an idea sometimes that families that maybe don't qualify economically in the standard thing, like their tax dollars, or they shouldn't have access to them, whatever the case is, because they're wealthy, and if you're wealthy, you can be able to pay for it. And I really think that that's not really an ideal that we want to live in, right? To where what we want to see is like, hey, you should have access to your tax dollars in education, regardless of your income. Because that's not the point, right? The point is the state's providing this amount of support for you as a parent to have an opportunity for your student. And so maybe they do go to a higher end institution, and maybe they increase their tuition more, maybe a lower one does a little bit more, but I think that's market driven. That would be the main point I would look at, would be what can people in my community afford? And that's not really going to be moved. The needle's not going to be moved with school choice dollars.